I've been asked the Arizona question a few times now. Come here. Get over here. Oh, shut up. Get over here. You want to hang out with me? Come hang out with me. No, shut up. Come here. No. Ow. Don't. She's not as friendly as my cats. Look at that. But she bugs me. Anyways, the Arizona question. So, Gary Bettman's written a letter that everybody's read by now that hockey's not going to work in Glendale. He's asking Arizona to come together and put it all together. I said at the time, hockey's not leaving Arizona. Now there's articles out. Hockey's not leaving Arizona. The reason being, and this is going to sound redundant, hockey is not leaving Arizona. The Coyotes are struggling on the ice. They're struggling off the ice. There's a lot of uncertainty, but they're not moving. Bettman wants the team to stay in the Phoenix area. Now, the question becomes, is the Phoenix area committed to the Coyotes? Are they committed in high enough numbers to justify keeping the team there? That is regularly questioned and rightfully questioned. But the NHL's been in Vegas longer than they were in Winnipeg the first time. The Winnipeg Jets, I believe, moved in '96, so they were an NHL team for 16 years. They were in the WHA before that, but that doesn't count for what I'm talking about here. The Winnipeg Jets, the first time around, were an NHL team 16 years. They've been in Phoenix for over 20. Over 20 years. Phoenix has hope for the future. I talked about my Future Watch issue. Clayton Keller's considered the top prospect in hockey right now. Max Domi is due for a bounce-back season next year. And there's a lot of pieces to like in Phoenix/Arizona. I still think of them as Phoenix, and the fact that Gary Bettman wants them to stay in the Phoenix area tells me Gary's hooked on the Phoenix idea as well. But regardless of what you call them, regardless of where they sit in the alphabetical order of things, the Coyotes have a problem. The Coyotes have a large problem at the gate and on the ice. And I don't know how it's going to get fixed, but for me, if I was a betting man, they're not going anywhere. At no point has the NHL ever said, maybe. And Atlanta, with the Thrashers, they didn't make the effort to try to keep it. They went, no, Atlanta doesn't work, we're going to move to Winnipeg. When the Canadian teams were struggling, there was no effort made to keep a team in Winnipeg, a team in Quebec, and then when New England couldn't support the Whalers, there was no attempt to keep the team in Hartford or to find a nearby solution, like Bettman is insisting on for the Coyotes. And for Whalers fans, and there are still Whalers fans who remember, and Nordiques fans, and for the original Jets fans, that's a tough thing to hear. The NHL didn't fight for those teams to stay put. They're fighting for Arizona to stay put. I think that as much as people wait for Florida or the Islanders, I think the NHL is bound and determined to keep all 30 franchises where they are. So I would love to report that the NHL is at least willing to consider moving teams to another area. But they don't seem to be willing to do that. There seems to be no appetite in the NHL to make more money. And that's the only way to put it. I mean, as much as I don't favor moving teams just for money reasons, because we've seen in the NFL how that works. It's just constant moves. NFL owners have no connection to a city for the most part, and I don't want to see the NHL get there because it's not helping the NFL. But at the same time, there has to be a breaking point where you say, we'd like to make some money here. We're tired of having to support the same franchises all the time. The way that the money that's collected from the NHL works, you have haves and have-nots. And for haves, it has to get frustrating that you're not able to spend more money, you're not able to put together or keep a better team because the have-nots drag down the salary cap and the have-nots get money from you because you make the money that they don't. It has to be frustrating. But it's not frustrating enough. It's not front and center enough that owners are saying, well, wait a minute, we need to get out. There's been no appetite for that. The NHL has shown no propensity for that outside of moving the Jets almost 5 years ago. And that move seemed to be more of a Atlanta doesn't have a place to play. Where are we going to park them? That was how it felt. And then Winnipeg stood up, and it was as if the NHL said, well, that's our feel-good story. We're going to put a team in Winnipeg, and that should shut them up. That's how it felt. So I would love to see a team go back to Quebec. I would love to see one of these markets that's not currently an NHL market get a team. It's not going to be the Coyotes. And I don't know how much money the NHL has to lose. I don't know how many years they have to put in. But they're not leaving the desert. So if you're a Coyotes fan and you're worried, don't worry. The NHL's not going anywhere. If you are a fan in Quebec, a fan in Seattle, who's like, we get the Coyotes, it's not going to happen. Unless Gary Bettman is saying this publicly and behind closed doors, he's saying we need to move the team. If he's doing that, then I'm wrong. Here's the thing. There's never been any indication from anywhere, from a named or unnamed source, that the NHL is willing to move the team. It's never happened. So, again, it's one of those things people ask me about, and I didn't really address it because I know Arizona's not moving. I thought they were moving 5 years ago. It didn't happen. And I just, when they couldn't even find an owner and the NHL themselves were owning the team and propping it up, it was like, okay, they refuse to leave Arizona. Flat out refuse to leave Arizona. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thanks for watching. I will be talking to you again before the end of the night because I have other things to discuss. And we'll get to that.